My guest today launched his side hustle in 2020 after making Star Wars themed quilts by drawing a pattern and sewing fabric to the 5-foot by 6.5-foot paper. The foundation paper piecing made it easier than expected, so he started a business, and the story unfolds from there. Today, I'll have a chat with Mike Odell, founder of Legit Kits. Hello and welcome to the Quilter on Fire podcast. I'm Brandy Maslowski, a former firefighter turned quilt professional. As a quilt teacher, speaker, and judge, I travel the globe to bring quilters more joy and less overwhelm. Not too long ago, the quilty life I now lead was just a dream. After many lessons and a lot of hard work, I've transitioned from juggling a day job and a quilting business on the side to becoming a full-time quiltpreneur. I started the Quilter on Fire podcast to create a vibrant community of quilters, artists, and makers. Each episode brings you inspiring stories, insights, and the pure joy of guests from all over the world. If their stories uplift you and spark joy, you're in the right place. Let's dive in and ignite that creative fire within you. My guest today is Mike Odell of Legit Kits. With a full-time job as a nurse anesthetist, Mike has the luxury of trying out a side hustle that didn't need to put food on the table. He's been sewing for decades, so his newfound joy with the foundation paper piece project in 2020 was the perfect fit to give it a try. Legit Kits now has a team of full-time employees and brings in freelance designers to boost his offerings with fresh new designs that cater to quilters of all levels, from beginner to advanced and everything in between. So let's get into the story of Legit Kits with Mike Odell. Mike, welcome to the show.
Brandy, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on the Quilter on Fire podcast. I'm glad we're making this happen. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, it's been a while. I've really wanted you on the show for quite a while. I've seen you at so many shows with your wonderful booth and the people clamoring around your booth to see what you're bringing to the table next. So let's get started. I like looking back at where you got started. So when do you first remember putting stitch to fabric?
That's pretty easy. My grandmother had a sewing machine, and I knew one thing about it, which was I couldn't touch it. But I thought what she did was neat. However, when I was about 30 years old, I wanted to be Braveheart for a Halloween party, and I could not find a costume that worked for that.
Yeah.
So I went to Joann Fabrics. I got the cheapest sewing machine I could find and threw it in my cart. And while that was in my cart, I started looking at the fabric in a completely different way. I didn't even notice it before. But once I had this machine in my cart, I hadn't even bought the thing. I was looking at that stuff thinking, man, I want to make something beautiful out of all of these colors. This is so cool. So that kind of got me started. I made the Halloween costume, made a bunch of like grill covers and kind of functional stuff, and just tinkered with it for a while. But my wife got into quilting. And I didn't think much about it until she took me to a quilt show. And I saw some of those art quilts, and it was inspirational for me. Her first quilt was a 9-patch, and I saw that as pixels, which was my first job. I was drawing images pixel by pixel for a little computer company back in the 1990s. That was high tech back then. And so I did a couple of pixel quilts to start, and then I started doing FPP after that, foundation paper piecing after that, and the rest is kind of history.
Yeah.
I spent 18 months writing my first FPP pattern.
Wow.
I did it by hand. I honestly didn't like what else was out there at the time. So I didn't want to copy off anybody else. I wanted to solve this problem for myself. I also was pretty much a novice still with sewing machine at the time. So I had to write a pattern that made sense to me. And so actually, that ended up being kind of a strength for Legit Kits because, a lot of times when somebody does something professionally, they've done it for a long time. And it's easy when you're an expert to make assumptions that people know stuff that they just don't know. I don't know how to sew a Y seam, and all my patterns are designed to avoid them. I like working, like when you're drawing or painting, you tend to grid off a photo or a painting to make it easier to copy those colors and work with, or copy those shapes and work in that space. And so that's why I did blocks for foundation paper piecing, because it's the same kind of thing. I have a big art background. I just love playing with different media. And my favorite thing to do is to take ideas that are in my head and turn them into reality. And so it's just kind of is part of all that.
Yeah, so cool. Okay. And I can't wait to talk all about all the things you have coming to the table lately, but we're going to stay in the past right now and talk about, were there certain people in your life that had a creative impact on you in your early childhood, through your teens, throughout your life?
My grandfather was a chronic tinkerer. He was always working on stuff. He was trying to invent a better lawnmower muffler back in the day, and he had one that was pretty good, but he's like, it's not quite enough. So that was kind of an inspiration there. And another inspiration for me, no malice meant this way, but I had a stepdad. I told him, I got a Dremel tool when I was about 20, and I was still living at home. I was going to college, and I had this idea. I wanted to make a skull out of wood. And I bought a plank of redwood that was 12 inches wide, 6 foot long, and 1 inch thick. And I cut it into 12-foot sections and then glued them all together and made it the size of a human head.
Oh, like 12-inch sections?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's these layers. And then I kind of bookended it where the grain would go toward each other, every layer.
Oh, cool.
Instead of this zigzag type pattern.
Yeah.
And then I sat down on the back porch with a Dremel tool and carved a skull. And of course he was like, what are you doing with that? Because I just started. And he was like, I was like, I'm going to make a skull out of this. And he was like, you can't do that. And that's exactly what I needed to hear.
Yeah.
I love doing the things you can't do.
Yeah.
So I make it a mission to always push myself in that direction. And it seemed really hard to make that first FPP quilt, because getting all those angles right, and how do I even do that? It was just a heck of a problem to solve.
Yeah.
And while I was on the floor on my hands and knees drawing this thing at full scale, and I was 8 months into the project at that point, I was thinking, I don't know very many quilters who want to spend all this time and energy writing a pattern.
Yeah.
The quilters want to sew.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can make something that people actually want to do, I could make a business out of this. And I had a vision for this company when I was on my floor, and it wasn't the little guy either. I wanted to make a splash with this, and I think we're on our way to doing that. It's been pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch your story unfold. But I want to go back and talk about your first quilts, because they were Star Wars quilts. I mentioned them in the intro. So tell me about that project and who they were for and how it went.
Well, so my middle son, Niles, wanted a Darth Vader quilt, Darth Vader, and I did that as a pixel quilt. It was 1,260 squares, 2.5 inch squares that I sewed together and to make them 2-inch squares, and nothing was straight. And I learned a lot, but it's still on his bed today. And then I wanted to do his TIE fighter on the back. And when I wanted to do his spaceship different on the back. For one thing, I didn't want to do 1,260 squares again. I wanted it to be a little smaller, but I wanted to get those angles on his spaceship correct. And I told my wife about that, and she was like, that sounds like paper piecing. And so I Googled it. Yeah. And I saw a really simple how to write a paper piecing pattern online. I don't even remember whose it was, but I just got a piece of graph paper and drew that TIE fighter on there, and it came out. It looked great. And I was like, this is so neat. It just kind of made sense to me in the beginning. And so then I did a Stormtrooper quilt that was the same number of squares. But while I was looking for Stormtrooper art, I ran across this artist named Liam Brazier. He's out of UK, and he does this super cool low poly artwork. It's low resolution polygon artwork. And there's this Stormtrooper that he's done. It's called Trooper. And it is just powerful. It's looking down at you. There's a lot of color in it. The angles are great. It has wonderful composition. And I was like, I want to make that into a quilt. And that was that first foundation paper piecing pattern. I reached out to Liam, and I was like, hey man, here's what I'm thinking. And he came back to me and he said, I don't mind you doing that. And I told him, I'd like to make a quilt pattern, and can I pay a royalty? And he was like, yeah, sure. And then I was like, how much do you want? He's like, well, whatever. Pick a number. Let's figure this out. And so it was really easy to negotiate this deal with him. And I, at the time, I felt justified because there are 10,000 Star Wars things on Etsy. Everybody's selling it, and I've spent a lot of money on Star Wars. So I was like, you know what, I've paid in, but honestly, it is their intellectual property. So, but whatever, it got me started. While I was emailing Liam back and forth, he said, you know what? A couple of quilters several people have reached out to me and want to make a quilt pattern out of Trooper, but nobody's been able to do it.
Oh.
And this harkens back to that skull I made. Like, oh, okay. Yeah. Challenging. Nobody's done this before. Yeah. Let's do this. So that got me on that path.
Oh, nice.
So I spent all those months figuring it out. I'm not as computer savvy as I used to be. I didn't want to buy software for it. I didn't like the patterns that were generated from that software anyway. And I wanted it to just, first of all, it was just for me. But then as I was thinking a little more commercially, I was like, I need to do these patterns digitally. And that first one, that hand drawn one, was a mess. I spent about a year making it and ended up having to tear it up and start over again. And that's where we got to 18 months because it took me a while to redraw, recolor, all that stuff. It was a hot mess. While I was doing that, I hired a couple graphic design artists. They started writing patterns with me, which actually was another strength for Legit because I started putting these patterns out for testing. And quilters would come back and they'd say, you know what, this would be so much easier if, and they filled in the statement. And so I had feedback from hundreds of quilters on what they would like out of a pattern. So Legit Kits is actually built by quilters. And when people open these things, and I get emails all the time, people are just like, oh my gosh, it's like you thought of me.
Yeah.
When you made this.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's cool. There's no better compliment than that.
Yeah. Well, that's how I felt. You sent me the firefighter one and I was like, you made this for my dad. I mean, I'm a firefighter. My dad's a firefighter. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'd love to make this. So yeah, I could see how quilters could really help you build the foundation by giving you feedback. And it's so nice that you're putting something out into the world that quilters want anyway. Like other people tried to get that done and they couldn't do it themselves, right? So let's talk a little bit about career, because you didn't make a transition from a full-time job to doing this business full-time. You're doing everything. So what do you do for a living and how are you balancing both worlds?
I am currently a pediatric certified registered nurse anesthetist. I am still doing that job. It's technically full-time. Still, I'm on the very cusp of what full-time is. I'm working 3 10-hour shifts per week. So 3 days a week, I'm in the operating room from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then I do Legit the other 2 days of the working week. I'm also married with 3 kids. I also own multiple rental properties, which that's outside the scope of this podcast, but those have kept me busy as well. I've since turned the rental properties over to a property management company because I can't do everything. I have employees to help with Legit greatly. I would not be here if it weren't for employees because there's only so much one person can do.
Yeah.
So I now have 7 full-time employees. I'm kind of always doing Legit, but not on the clock, right? Like I'm always thinking about designs. I have done my best to clock out after 5 p.m. I tend not to send text messages to my team. I tend not to respond to text messages from my team. I don't want to have a workforce that is always on call to my every whim at every minute. And I want to respect people's time.
Yeah. We
take off for holidays here. We don't have people come in on the weekends and do shipping. We work 5 days a week. And so, I had to build this company in a way that it functions without me being there all the time. And that is actually a strength. I am chaos. I have ADD. That's what started this company. It was a whole bunch of ideas crashing together in my head at the same time. I have ideas constantly. The only way I know if they're good or not is to say them out loud and put them into the world. I realize that most of my ideas are not actually practical. And filtering that out has been a challenge, and my employees have learned to live with that. I don't tend to upend everything and put us on a course of destruction or anything, but I have a lot of ideas. We try a lot of things. Not all of them work, and that's okay. That's life.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's just give a little shout out to your team right now. So what kind of jobs do they do and how do they serve you so well?
Well, Dr. Laurette is the office manager, the operations manager. She's the person who's probably going to answer your email if you send us one. She makes sure that we have fabric in stock. And we're now doing 2 full lines of fabric, and I want to do a lot more than that. She makes sure we have fabric in stock. She helps decide the cut schedules. She keeps track of inventory. She makes sure that everybody gets paid. She can build a spreadsheet for anything super fast.
That's a good skill.
Great with our customers. And we also have Abigail, who's been doing a lot of our shipping, although Ellie is starting to take that on as Abigail moves over. She's actually a graphic artist. So she does a lot of our graphic stuff in-house. She's working on writing some patterns too. Elia is our newest hire, but she's been here for more than a year now. We've got a really solid team. She does a lot of labeling. She doesn't like handling the power cutters that can take your fingers off, and so she stays away from those. She prints. We have an in-house print shop. I have multiple printers that do patterns and do the paperwork. We have full-time cutters. We got Lily. She's our head cutter. She's been with us for 4 years now. And then we also have her daughter, Dre. And then there's Dawnette and Greg. And those 4 people cut and label fabric all day long. That's their job.
So that's the team.
That's the team. That's the core team. We also have Chuck, who is our road warrior, I guess. He did 25 quilt shows last year. We have a Sprinter van. He loads it up. He's gone for weeks on end, traveling and doing hotels and going to quilt shows. I show up at the ones I can, but wife and kids and full-time job. I only make it to the big ones. I'm planning on being on road to California this year, H&H Chicago, but not the show, but the market, the industry one, and then Houston. If they get their dates straight, they just changed it again. And I got the week off that they originally announced from work. And so now I got to finagle that. But that's also the benefit of working 3 days a week. I can usually kind of shift my anesthesia schedule around.
Yeah.
We also have an army of quilters that work for us and make example quilts. We have testers. Pattern testers. Everything we do gets retested. Even if we're just changing some colors, we still send out test kits because I don't want to get stuff wrong.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side of that, I have fired more people than I thought I ever would.
Oh, interesting.
I've been in healthcare since the 90s. So I've worked in a hospital, and everybody who works in a hospital has gone through some kind of training. You go to school to be a scrub tech. You go to school to work at pretty much anything in the hospital. And so those schools act as a filter.
Yeah. And
I didn't realize that. But when I'm hiring people to come in and cut fabric, there's not a whole, I make sure they're over 21. I don't want young people in here who could get hurt. Nobody's gotten hurt cutting fabric from me. Knock on everything I can. I tell people to be careful. They stay clear of their cutters, but we use these fabric cutters that will go through 40 layers of fabric. And I got these anti-cut gloves for our cutters. And one of them took it and put the anti-cut glove in front of the cutter and ran through it, and all 4 fingers came right off. So we have to do mass production stuff because that's the only way to make this work. That firefighter kit I sent you's got 126 colors in it, I believe.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know off the top of my head, but that's a lot of labor to get that done. Building the infrastructure for legit kits has been a multi-year challenge. So that's kind of the core team. I've got ambassadors out there as well. We have certified instructors. We've got 20 of them who go out and teach at quilt shops and help us in our booth at quilt shows. It's an operation.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people are involved with legit kits at this point when I start counting. Because it's hard. How do you even qualify that? But it's a living, breathing thing, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a great team behind you, and you had that luxury of a full-time job, which really enticed you to build a business that didn't need you there 24/7, which I think is a great foundation, right? That's a Good idea. Okay, so let's take a moment out of the story and talk about where are you living now and who are your loved ones that you share your world with every day?
I live in Oklahoma City. I was born in this area back in the 1970s, in the 1900s. And I left town for a long time. I was a traveling nurse for years. I've lived all over the United States. Met my wife in Seattle. And Leela and I have a home in Oklahoma City. We have 3 kids. They're all teenagers. It's busy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's busy. We've got rock climbing and dance and scouts and orchestra and soccer and futsal and all the things. So we stay plenty busy. I have not been bored since 2007.
Oh, well, that sounds like a fun family to be involved with. Well, awesome. Okay, so let's move into the conversation about design because you have these incredible designs that you're bringing out to the world. So, with regards to how the kits are created, do you bring designs to the table? Do strangers come to you and say, "I want you to design this," or do you have the art director choosing the art? Like, how does it all come together when you're coming up with a new design?
I still work as the art director. I have a list of about several hundred designs that are in my mind. Every time I think of something, I just put it as a little note in my phone. And I work with an art team. They are remote. They're not in our office. And they're also core members of Legit Kits. We have multiple pattern writers and we have multiple artists that I work with. So I often communicate with pictures. It's hard to say, I want a dragon that's breathing fire at you because everybody has a different picture in their head. So like with Toasty the Dragon, this it's one of our most popular designs. I wanted to see if we could pull off fire with solid colors. And we did. It's all just solid colors. Everything we do is solid colors because when you're paper piecing, you're flipping fabric over. And with solids, there's no wrong side because it's dyed through.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It easier, makes the fabric more versatile, and it gives a big impact. So we only design in solid colors for now. We might do some batiks here and there. I'm not sure. We're going to play. I think that people will like it. I'm a little cautious to change up too much too fast. But I tend to send images to the art department and say, hey, do this in our style. We've built palettes for confetti cotton solids by Riley Blake and for Kona solids by Robert Kaufman. And so our artists use those palettes to draw with. And we do everything as low poly, so low resolution polygon. So the way it's done is you overlay triangles over a section of the image that looks the same, and you average that color out. The trick is doing it in fabric colors, so you've got to average it out, but make it actually fit that color because nowadays the colors are unlimited, but I'm restricted to what we're working on now is the KC palette, the Kona confetti. And it's those colors that totally match each other. Those are the ones we're going to use on some of our simpler designs. That way we have dual purpose patterns that can work with either format, because we've had problems with fabric supply. 25 was littered with issues with fabric supplies. And that really was impactful and not in a positive way for my business. And I'll be darned if that happens again. So, fool me once.
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting when we're talking about pulling color inspiration, because the average quilter who might be creating a quilt might pull color inspiration from the pattern designer or the fabric designer, or they might just use fabrics from their stash. But you're pulling color inspiration from a line of solid fabrics, and that's what you have, that line of fabrics, and you can't use anything else, right?
Yes, and that kind of helps guide what we do. I throw away more designs than go through. I start with art. And sometimes with this technique, with these colors, it just doesn't work. And my goal for Legit is for every one of our quilts to be an artwork. Because what I tell people is when I was talking to a banker, I was like, I'm not selling paper and fabric to people. I am selling dopamine. Because when you finish one of our quilts, and like with that skull that I carved out of wood, that is still in a place in my house, displayed, and it always will be. And when I look at that, I'm like, yeah, I did that. And that's the feeling that I want to share with Legit is I want people to make something that they're freaking proud of forever, because that feeling never goes away. And it's so awesome to be able to share that with people.
Yeah.
I've played with multiple media throughout my life, and there's just some stuff I made that's just so freaking cool. And that's what I try and do for our quilters. So I work with actual artists, people who make a living making art, because they're good. And I love being able to compensate them appropriately for their work, and they're happy to do it. So it's a nice little synergy. I think that what is I'm starting to see it now. And I don't want to take credit for it, but I hadn't seen a lot of the artwork in FPP that happened before Legit come into, since I've started Legit. Maybe I'm just part of an overall movement or what, but I am starting to see quilt designs that have good composition. And that's what a lot of historic paper piece designs were lacking, was composition, because there's a way to build an image that holds the human eye. And oftentimes it's about the angles and the colors. And so we fool with that a lot until it hits me in the chest. And then we go from there. Going back to designs real quick, and I'm sorry to be scooting around, but like Skulliver, we have a 106 color skull. And I pulled the colors from that off of elemental bismuth. The mineral that grows in those cool little squares and has this iridescent metallic type sheen to it. Those are the colors we use in Skulliver. With Toasty, I wanted to see, can I pull off fire? With Standing Stones, I wanted to see if we could make a 3D quilt that works with 3D glasses. And so we have a foundation paper piece quilt that works with 3D glasses.
That's cool. I'm always trying to push how far I can take FPP. We just launched the Confetti Challenge, the first of many. It's a block of the month design. Sorry, it's already closed, but it uses, so confetti solids, they have 300 colors, but one of them is PFD white, which I used to think meant personal flotation device, because I used to sell sailboats, but it means prepared for dyeing. Yeah.
I don't want that in my quilts. I don't want people to put a prepared for dyeing fabric in there and then wash it. What color is it going to be? What are colors next to it? So we have a 299 color quilt for the Confetti Challenge. It's every shade of confetti solids. And so over the course of that bomb, you get their whole line. And we give generous amounts of fabric.
Yeah.
Because that's what quilters wanted. And because with FPP, there's a lot of waste. There's a lot of, it's so sad to flip your triangle and have it not line up all the way. And so we want people to cut big and cut once.
Yeah, and it's so cool that you get the entire line of everything you need for the entire kit, of course, and you don't have to go shopping to figure out, oh my gosh, can you imagine trying to shop for a pattern like this? It wouldn't be possible almost.
I tried. Back when I was doing that Stormtrooper, it was 56 colors.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, Hobby Lobby has 60 of Kaufman's colors there. So I should be able to get at least 2/3 of what I need at Hobby Lobby. They had 5 of the colors I needed.
Oh, no.
It took months to find the fabric. And that's what people find when they go to save money from Legit and they want to just they want to buy the fabric themselves. You can. And our patterns are actually meant to work independently. If you've got a heck of a scrap stash, you want to make a quilt out of scraps, match those colors that are on the guide that are printed in there and follow those and just name them those letters and then go for it. And it'll look great. Realize that you got to match those colors though in hue and intensity, because I've seen people match rando colors with each different shade, and it's hard to tell what you're even trying to make, and that's a lot of work to put in there. So
yeah, it might not work because a lot of the design is about value right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
The shading, the
Okay, so it's really cool to hear the process that goes from concept to reality and what you're creating and bringing to the world. And also, I love that moment you shared that Legit kits are art, and then it goes all the way to the end user or the quilter who remakes the whole thing, and it's still art. So I love that whole concept that you get to see what you love and put it on your wall as a quilt. And that's just a really cool idea to bring to the world.
And they made it, right? You cut the fabric, you sewed it together. I'm just giving you the tool you always wanted. I would have bought Legit kits when I got that first sewing machine. When I wanted to make all those stuff out of those cool colors, it's right there.
Yeah. Cool.
So it's neat that it gives people such an essential of accomplishment.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I want to take a minute right now, since we're talking about the biz and how it all comes together. I want you to give me your elevator pitch for the business. So tell me about Legit Kits in a nutshell.
Well, it's kind of what we've been talking about. Like, I'm selling dopamine to people. I'm selling success to people. I'm selling um, art to people. I'm helping turn quilters into what people consider to be wizards. Like, how do you even? You are so talented. And when quilters come back with that to me, that's just super cool. So I'm making it possible for other people to make works of art.
Cool. Okay. So while we're on the topic of the business, let's mention the website now and tell people where they can go to find it.
Everything we got is on www.legitkits.com. We do have a couple of affiliate partners in other countries. There may be a Legit Kits there's Legit Kits in Australia. There's one that's in UK. We also export to Canada. We got a couple of importers from Canada, and they can make them up. Duties are expensive. Our kits are heavy. Shipping them is expensive. So we try and find solutions for those outside the United States to still make Legit Kits somewhat affordable. So yeah, legitkits.com. We're fairly active on older social media. We have a Facebook page. That's where almost everybody is. We have almost 10,000 members in there. It'll probably be 10,000. Facebook group. Let me get that straight. We have a Facebook page. We put announcements on there. We post it quite a bit. Any really stupid reels you see on there, those are me. I'm corny. I like old jokes from a long time ago and stuff. And so if you see something stupid, that was all me. But our Facebook group is a closed group. It has 10,000 people in it. And it's just quilters, and it's just about Legit Kits. And there are no spam. There's no selling. There's no nothing on it. It's just people talking about FPP and showing off their projects and giving advice on how to quilt, or, hey, I just made this. How did you quilt it? Nitty gritty type stuff there.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, so the Facebook group is called Legit Kits, almost 10,000 people there. It sounds like a really good place to go if you're trying your first one, or if you've been doing it for a while, you want a resource, you want support, you want to show your wins and the things you've made. That sounds like a really good place to be in community, right?
Yeah, and it's also a support group. We put a sticker on the outside of every one of our packages that says, "Warning, content's highly addictive. Open at your own risk." There is no cure for Legit Kits addiction, but there is a support group, and that's found on Facebook.
Oh, fun. Okay, let's get into a couple of collaborations you've done. So I mentioned earlier in the intro that you bring on designers. So let's talk about a few of those.
So after making my first few kits, I cut the first two Legit Kits. Everything with this company, I did it by myself first. And then I hired somebody who was way better at it than I was, which has been extremely humbling. But making a quilt kit is actually a lot of work. And it's also really expensive work unless you can get a commercial account, which costs a lot of money to start. So I've built this infrastructure. We have tables that are variable height. I built them out of some sit-stand desk bases and then plywood. So they're like big and broad, and they adjust in height so our cutters could be in a comfortable place. We've got storage. I'm in a 4,500 square foot mixed use space right now. So about 2,000 of those square feet is dedicated to just fabric that's on racks.
Boy.
That's my office. Just racks and racks of fabric,
Wow.
several rows deep.
Yeah.
And then our cutters take them to their stations. Donut's around there somewhere, and they cut them and assemble them. And there's been a process of how to get everything labeled and printed. And like, the first time I printed a pattern, the local store wanted the local FedEx place. They wanted 25 cents a page for color.
Oh, geez.
You have a 200-page pattern. That's $50 to print that pattern.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot.
Wait, let me get that right. That's not right. No, it is. It is the fourth of 200. Yeah. $50 to print one pattern. Hard to make money when you're doing that.
Yeah.
But since then, we have high-end printers that actually are better than the ones at FedEx. We print about 200,000 pages a month, printing quilt patterns. We've got dedicated printers for FPP. And so most people who write quilt patterns, they do that and it's their passion. Some of them are really freaking good at it.
Yeah.
But they're either geographically in a place that they can't start a company, or they're just not in the position to do so. And it takes help to make these things. So I bring on other designers whose work I like. I'm also picky, but I like their work. If they're working with solids, also, like, that's what I have. And we will kit their designs for them, for the people who don't want to go through trying to get it printed at a print shop or whatever, and then trying to convince some teenager at Staples that you have the right to make a copy of this thing, explaining copyright law to somebody's like, I don't know if I could print this for you, and waiting in line and doing those trips and stuff. We do all that for the customer. So we are building quilt kits for other designers. I'm about to launch another website for that.
Okay.
To keep it separate from Legit, because we're not in the business of correcting other people's patterns, changing other people's patterns. If you've written a pattern and then people like it, then we will kit that for you.
Yeah. Nice. Well, tell me a little bit about what you've done with Dee Bushrod, the pixel quilter. What kind of designs have she brought to the table?
We just got another one from her. She has done a pixel quilt of Santa Claus, and she's got another one where it's blowing a great big pink bubble.
Oh yeah.
And so we've been working with her on those. Dee she's a ball of fire.
Yeah,
she's so much fun. I love hanging out with her. She and my wife were friends through QuiltCon and everything else before I met her. But she is pretty close. She lives in Tulsa. We hang out with her and her husband, Jay, all the time. Just great people. And it's neat to be working with her. It's nice to start doing some business stuff with a friend, because it takes a little bit of that pressure off, because I pay her. I make sure she gets paid.
Yeah.
But, it's good. It's a little easier because she knows she can trust me, and I know I can trust her. So,
yeah. Okay. And what kind of patterns have you brought to the table with Cole Whitaker?
With Cole, we did his Halloween quilt, which is a awesome stained glass style quilt that's got blowing up color. Cole is a freaking artist all day long. And we're looking to do some more with him. This mid-century modern quilt got into QuiltCon, and we're looking to launch that as a new pattern on our new website. So I'm excited for that.
Oh, that's exciting news. Not very many quilts. I think there's maybe 25 to 30% of quilts get into QuiltCon or something like that.
Yeah, it's not a high number. My wife got rejected.
Yeah.
So his got in there. So that's cool.
I heard there's a brand new website with Rada Weaver of Sewing Through Fog. She started a website of QuiltCon rejects, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So she's going to be featuring all those. So she has a really great upcycling business going on with upcycled fabric and stuff. So that could be a good place if you have a friend or wife who's got rejected. She can put her quilt on display there with Rada.
My wife's gotten into a lot of shows this year. She's gotten into QAQ. She's gotten into Houston. She's gotten into a ton of shows. I should know off the top of my head, but I don't.
Oh, that's okay. That's exciting. Okay, well, let's talk about one more designer then, and it is Helen Creasy. What kind of a quilt did she bring to the table?
So her mermaid quilt reaching, super cool, and we've also brought hers as a kit as well. And it's just neat to be working with these people from all over the world, because she's in the UK. So I'm working right now. Cole, he's in Pacific Northwest. Dee is up the road in Tulsa, 100 miles away. And then I've got Dee in the UK. I've talked to a couple of Australians. I don't want to drop names because we don't have a deal with them yet, but I'm looking to work with a whole lot more designers and just keep on bringing these kits out, because that's what people want. And this is a great time to be selling quilt kits because so many people, their only store was Joann, and it collapsed.
True.
And so, we send you everything but the thread.
Yeah.
We sell that too if you want some.
Sounds good. Okay, let's talk about another product that I saw. I think we chatted about this earlier, and it is a sticker book. So tell me about that.
Yeah, it's the Ultimate Animal Kingdom sticker book. I was at, there's a little one back in the corner there. I was at Houston Market a couple of years ago, and the people from Fox Chapel Publishing came up to me and said, your designs, they would be great for our sticker books. And so they have a little numbered drawing like a black and white line drawing with numbers on it. And then there's another page of the stickers on it. And you peel the stickers off and you stick them to it. And it's all based off our design. So I got a book deal. We have a sticker book. It's really neat. It's on Amazon. It's you see our fox on the cover.
Yeah.
And it's very well done. So yeah, we got that too.
It sounds really satisfying too. So, okay. Well, I want to talk about, you mentioned one story to me earlier that we just have to share. So you used to rent a U-Haul for every show. Tell us the story of your new truck.
Well, so we used to run U-Haul for every show. I started looking at that, and from a business standpoint, we were at, it was costing us between $1,000 and $1,500 to rent a truck and drive it across the country. And I was like, we shouldn't be advertising for U-Haul. We should be advertising for ourselves. And so I was like, we need a truck. And one of the many things I did in healthcare, I was a registered nurse in the critical care unit. I worked with the flight nurses a lot. They would bring people off the helicopter to us, from various having bad events in their lives. And I thought that would be super cool. So I went to EMT school so I could be part of the helicopter crew. And I got to ride in fire trucks and ambulances and do that sort of stuff, just a little bit, just for EMT basic. So 1 year of it or whatever. And then I became a traveling nurse and that went away. But I got on Craigslist and started looking for a truck for quilt shows. And I found a year 2000 International heavy rescue truck. It had about 250,000 hours on it. I'm sorry, the equivalent of 250,000 miles worth of hours. I forget what those are, but this is a 1,000,000-mile engine on this thing. And it was this big red fire truck. It's like an ambulance on steroids. The patient bay is huge compared to a standard ambulance. It has this diesel engine and painted red and had the lights and stuff all over it. And so we got a Cricut machine and we had some lettering made for the side of it, the engine turn. There's a legit kits fabric department on the side. Instead of a hook and ladder, we did a scissors and seam ripper and the Maltese cross. And then in the back corner, we put to sew and perfect instead of to serve and protect. And that was our quilt show truck. It was great. We never had to pay for parking. They would just wave us in when we'd come rolling up the road in it.
It's a fire truck. Bring it in.
Yeah. Same thing. The first show we did was Road to California with it. And they cleared out a section of the loading dock as we came pulling in. And we didn't know, we just came pulling in, this truck pulls out. We're like, oh, that's perfect. And we backed right in and started unloading our quilt supplies. And they're like, we thought somebody freaking died. And we're like, oh, well, no, it's our truck. So,
well, thanks for the nice parking spot.
Yeah, appreciate it. And that truck was wonderful for a year.
Yeah.
And then it caught on fire. My fire truck burned down.
What? How did it?
The brakes caught fire in Kansas, and it was surrounded by 4 other fire trucks. So it was kind of beautiful, and other fire trucks around. Made the news.
Yeah.
And the funniest part was our driver. We used to keep all our quilts in a roll.
Yeah.
And so our quilt roll, our quilts are 60 by 80 inches, and so it's a 5-foot long quilt roll, and we roll like a dozen up at a time in these rolls. And we have a lot of example quilts, and so. The highway patrolman told my driver, he was like, you should have heard the 911 call for this thing, because he was pulling the quilt rolls out the back of the truck while it was on fire on the side of the road. And people were calling saying, there's a fire truck on fire on the side of the road. They're pulling bodies out of the back of it. We don't even, so, they showed up to this mass casualty situation. It was a quilt truck that caught fire.
Oh, that is so funny. We're going to have to put a photo. If you have a photo of that truck, we'll have to put a photo in the newsletter when I send this out. So that
I got pictures.
Everyone can see a picture of this iconic truck while you had it for a year.
Underline, circle, you'll get that.
You'll get that today. Would be so great. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So sadly, my fire truck burned down. Ironically, I don't know what you want to say, but since then, we got a Sprinter van. It's a Mercedes Sprinter. Got it used to. It took forever to get insurance money out of that fire truck. But it's such much a better ride. The fire trucks aren't really made to drive across the country. They're not that comfortable. They're pretty loud. You couldn't even hear the radio in it. The AC didn't work.
And when you were talking about that at the very beginning, saying, oh, this great idea. And I, as a firefighter, I was thinking, oh, that's not the best type of vehicle to have. Like, that's a bit clunky and cumbersome and like what? And I think Sprinter van, oh, that would be like luxury compared to the other one.
Oh
But
yeah,
yeah, but it
this
was
thing.
fun, right? It was
It
fun for the
was
year.
fun. I had a fire truck. When I told my wife I bought a fire truck, she's like, "Of course you did."
Of course you did.
And I was
Oh,
like,
so
I had
good.
it in front of the house. She's like, "Don't park it here." I'm like, well, I got to work on it. I
Yeah.
got to get the horn going.
Yeah.
So now we have a Sprinter van. It's practical. It gets way better mileage,
Yeah.
and it seems to be flame retardant.
Yeah. Oh, good. Good. Okay. So let's get into a few new things. So you were featured in Quilt Folk magazine. So that must have been really fun. Tell me about that.
It was super cool. It was nice to get this. Nice to get the invitation. And since my wife is also a very prominent person in the quilt world, they did us as a couple. They don't typically do businesses in quilt folk. And I mean, I didn't do it for advertising anyway.
Yeah.
The photographers were super fun. We just had a great time. They had fun with our kids and our pets. And it's neat to run across them again at quilt shows and stuff because they're just
cool.
the coolest people. And then getting interviewed for that is a major honor.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that the Oklahoma edition was about to come out at the same time that I was there.
Yeah.
So worked out great.
Oh, that's really cool. Okay. And there's one more story I want to talk about the business that really sounds really cool, but I want to hear all the details. So you were on Shark Tank. So how did that come about? How did you prep? What was it like? Tell me all about it.
Oh, man. So one of my coworkers said, hey, and everybody's like, when they come into the OR, they tell them, hey, go talk to Mike about his quilts, which people are just like, what? Because I don't know what a quilter looks like, but I don't look like that. And so he came up to me and he was like, look, you should get on Shark Tank. And I was like, man, everybody says that. But first of all, I'm a niche of a niche. Not all quilters like foundation paper piecing. Some absolutely hate it, and they don't shy away from telling me that. But and of quilters, there's not, if you look at the United States, there's 11.1 million dedicated quilters, people who are serious about it, out of 350 million people. And if you were to try to find 11 things out of 350, that's not a lot. So, with Shark Tank, I felt that they were just into stuff that you can sell, like a better way to open a can, that you can sell to the whole world, make billions of dollars. So I had kind of written it off to even start, but he was like, this can't be that hard. So later that day, I come in and give him a lunch break, and he was like, look, let's just see how hard it is to apply to go on Shark Tank. So I pulled up their website. It's a 10-question application. And I looked through that and I was like, I actually have good answers for all these. But on the website, it says more than 10,000 people apply every year to get on this show.
Oh, wow.
And when I looked at the numbers even harder, in 2023, 40,000 people applied to get on that show and 100 make it to TV.
Wow.
So it shouldn't have happened. Yeah. Statistically, it didn't actually happen, but it happened to me.
Yeah.
I had good answers for their questions. And it also said, don't expect to hear anything from us. That's what most people, because we get all these inquiries, don't bother us. We'll call you. And so I submitted the application when he came back from lunch. I was like, there, I did it. Leave me alone. He's like, okay. And then in April, so that was January of 24. In April of 20, and I expected to hear nothing. In April of 24, I had a voicemail on my phone, and it was from a casting agent.
Wow.
Like, hey, we were looking through applications for Shark Tank and would like to hear a little more about your business. I was like, oh, man. So I started that process. That started in April, and I went to taping in September. And everything from April to September was pretty much Shark Tank. It was, and I'm not supposed to talk about that too much, so I'm going to kind of gloss over it. But there were some Zoom meetings involved. There were some videos I had to send them, and they're just... They don't tell you that you're in an elimination process, but you can tell you're in an elimination process. Yeah. They work with you on your pitch. The way I prepared for Shark Tank was, for one, I used to watch comedians in carts getting coffee. And there was one little thing that happened during that I harken back to, because I get nervous every time I'm in public.
Yeah.
I get nervous before I go talk to a quilt guild. And so this comedians in carts getting coffee, Jerry Seinfeld picked up like Chris Rock or somebody like that, like some popular, well-known comedian. And they were driving in a car and started talking about getting butterflies before a show. And they both said they both got butterflies before the show. If Jerry Seinfeld's going to get butterflies before a show, there's no way I'm not going to experience that. You know, that feeling that like, oh, you know, that's a normal thing to feel.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you could do about that. And if you focus on it, you just make things worse. But if you're supposed to feel that way, then just ignore it. And I use that. And then the sharks all have audiobooks. I published a book several years ago that I wrote about real estate and gave it away to like spouses and my husband really wants to buy some rental properties. I'm like, well, here's a book. And, you know, I had author copies. And so I just handed them out. But then I'd meet these people at a party later. Like I didn't even know who they were. And they would come up to me 6-8 months later and they would go, oh my gosh, like they knew me like my friend because they read my book. Yeah. Well, I did that with the sharks. All of them have books. And so I listened to all their audiobooks. I got to know them as people because they're telling their story. Every one of those people that's on that show are, you know, self-made is kind of it's not
millionaires.
But even when you're self-made, you still have a lot of help. That's just life. Yeah. You know, that's how I'm legit kids. I'm a self-made guy, you know, single, but no, I've got a team. Like I had help. But anyway, none of the sharks were given millions of dollars upon their birth, right? All the people who were on Shark Tanks started out with their own benefits and their own setbacks, and they made those businesses happen. So they are just like everybody else. They got lucky and they worked hard. But I felt like I was walking into a room full of people I actually already knew.
Because you read the books.
On the set, because I listened to their books. I knew their stories.
Yeah.
The moment before I walked out there, though, was a different time. I'd been having a great morning, you know, going to hair and makeup and, you know, just living like the Hollywood thing. I was on a set in LA. How cool is this? There are camera people and the guys with golf carts driving around and the catering service and all that stuff was there. I got to be part of that. It was so cool. And we were just cutting up and having a great time. And then I'm backstage talking to the stagehand about Willie Nelson of all things. And he's like, oh, when the makeup lady come up to Willie one time, because she's powdering my face and blowing a fan on me and stuff, he just looked at her and said, honey, that's a waste of powder. And we were cracking up about that. And then this voice came from overhead and said, doors open in 1 minute, 8 seconds. And I was like, all of a sudden, my soul fell out of my chest because I was standing on the other side of those doors, you know, and I've been preparing for it, but holy crap, you know, there might as well have been machine guns on the other side of those doors for an instant. I lost my breath. I was thinking, where in my life did I go wrong to put me in this place right now? Like it was like a low point, but I had the 1 minute and 8 seconds. And I was like, look, Jerry Seinfeld would be nervous right now too. You know, let's just square, not that he's my hero, but I just squared up. I took some breaths and I was like, this isn't life or death. And you know your stuff and it's interesting. And so Robert Herjavec's book, he wasn't even on the set that day, but I listened to his book and he tells you what he wants out of somebody when they walk on the set. He was like, you know, being nervous about cameras is normal, but also you're on a TV show. There's going to be cameras. Get over it. We're all on camera every day anyway. You know, you and I are both on camera right now, and it's just that's changed over time. But there's going to be cameras. We're looking for people who are confident. And so when I walked in there, one of the things I've done that's helped me with nerves throughout my life, after buying a couple of houses, is, you know, the thing that determines whether you own a property or not is a piece of paper with your name on it. That's it. There's no sign on the outside unless you're Donald Trump. It's just a piece of paper. And so when I'm nervous and going for an interview or something like that, I walk into the building and I just mentally think, I own this building. My name's on this piece of paper. This is my building. I'm pretty proud of this thing. You know, the maintenance guy needs to work on that over there, but otherwise the place is pretty good. And when you think that you own the building that you walk inside, it changes your attitude. Yeah. That was my studio that I walked in. Yeah. I liked the way it was running, by the way, too. You know, they were doing a pretty good job. But it was my studio and it was my time on that studio. And so I walked in there like I owned the place. Not like I owned everybody there.
Yeah.
Owning the place is different than owning the people, right?
Yeah.
Like I had tons of respect for the sharks who were up there, but those nerves, they were going to be there either way. And I still knew my business, and I still had a really interesting product, and I still got on TV. So
Yeah, that's really cool.
It was amazing.
Yeah, that's really okay. You are keeping us in so much suspense right now. So how did the pitch go, and what was the result? Like, did it have an impact on your business?
Oh, it did. My pitch, I choked every time during Zoom meetings with their legal department and their other people. And they really specific. They're like, everybody just gets one chance on Shark Tank. You cannot start your pitch over, because that's not fair to every other entrepreneur out there. So if you're on TV and you choke on that pitch, you just keep going. They probably won't even notice.
Yeah.
But we've been going through my pitch, because you got to make sure what you're saying is legal. I wanted to use my quilt of the Statue of David, which is two-sided, as one of my props on the set. And I was going to tell Mr. O'Leary that he was going to buy that, and then turn it around and show its rear end and say nice assets. But they shut that down. Anyway, on all the Zoom pitches, I choked, because I had been practicing for looking at Mark Cuban in the eyes, for looking Barbara in the eyes, for not looking at Kevin O'Leary's bald spot, all that stuff. And so when I'm talking to lawyers and stuff, you're like, well, actually, you can't say that. Like, that tripped me up every time. And so the only time I ever got my pitch right in front of people was on that set.
Oh, cool.
I did it plenty of times in my garage.
Yeah.
And in the hotel room and all the other places I practiced it, but I never got it in front of people until I was doing it in front of them. Mr. O'Leary made a full price offer to me a couple of minutes into it, like without even going further. Like, he liked my personality. He liked what I was doing. He liked my numbers. And so he made a full price offer immediately, what I was asking. But he didn't want his royalty for life. And there is a process that goes after Shark Tank. There's a due diligence. Because even if you know business really well, you can't explain one business to another person in a short period of time.
Yeah.
There's details.
Yeah.
So the due diligence process ironed out all the details later. And the sticking point for me was that the unit per unit cost, or per unit royalty, was going to apply to everything. And we sell stuff for less than $10. We sell fabric packs at quilt shows in little scrap bags, in little coffee bean bags, for $5. I'm like, I can't pay you $10 for every one of those things. So we got to, and anyway, there was a lot of negotiation that happened afterwards. And eventually it ended up that we couldn't figure it out, because what happens is, if you've got to deal with somebody else and you're paying them a certain royalty on certain items and not on others, you're going to gravitate towards the things that you're not having to pay the royalty on as a business. And that's just kind of how things have gone in the past. And so I ended up shutting that deal down.
Yeah.
And that was painstaking, because I taped in September. I was negotiating with Kevin O'Leary until the week before Christmas. The Shark Tank was a year in the making. And then the air date was in January. So right at a year after I applied. So it was a long process. It was super cool.
Yeah. And it was probably a great exercise in reviewing your business, understanding your business. Like, you got to know your stuff if you're going to go on there, right? So it was probably a good, quick little.
Yeah, it was very enlightening to go on Shark Tank. I mean, because they give you a financial colonoscopy to be on that show. You have to say the truth while you're on that show. Yeah, you cannot make up you can't make up your numbers, and you've got to send paperwork to support all that. So they go over your stuff very rigorously before you get on TV. So Shark Tank opened up. Certainly was a lot more exposure for us. We had great sales that weekend, but honestly, we do better on Black Friday. And if you look at statistics, well, that makes sense. We didn't get put in front of that many quilters statistically, just because of the number of people who watch the show. But it's something that it's repeated forever, at least nowadays. So we're going to be on reruns for a really long time. It was worth that effort. It got me articles on CNBC. It gives me tons of street cred when I send an email to somebody like, hey, if you haven't heard of our company, here it is. And then I put a link to the episode on there. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's neat.
It's just super neat.
Okay. And there's something else you're doing that's kind of, it's good to get the product out there. It's a teaching certified instructor program. So quilters can teach for you, or what's that program all about? Yeah,
we have a certified instructor program that's being run by Deb. Deb is one of my ambassadors. And at first, I wanted anybody to be able to teach legit because I feel like the patterns are pretty user friendly. There's a little bit of a learning curve just because we do stuff different because I didn't know the rules when I started doing this, so I broke them all. But the format's slightly different than you're going to see in other quilts, but at the same time, it's fairly straightforward, and it's all straight line sewing, and there's no tricky seams. So I thought, well, anybody can kind of teach it. But then I've heard that some quilt designers have classes at quilt shows, and sometimes their students leave in tears. Like, I don't want that for somebody pays to take a class. Like, I want whoever represents legit to be good.
Yeah.
And not, not hostile to the students. Like, that doesn't give us a good name. So we vet people very heavily. I'm not sure if we're going to have any more certified instructor classes because we don't want to oversaturate the market, but we do have CIs. The link to all that is on our website. If you want to get in touch with one of our certified instructors to come teach a class at your shop or whatever. If you've got like a retreat center or something like that, they do those things. We've got some people who are doing cruises now. And so everybody who's a certified legit KISS instructor has been certified to not be a jerk and also to know what they're talking about. They're good at our quilts. They have to make several of them.
Yeah.
They tend to be really gung-ho about legit, and it's super cool.
Yeah, that's fun. They probably really have a passion for foundation paper piecing. Okay, so that's great. So people can find that on your website. And of course, I know that you do lectures and you tell your story on Zoom and at guilds and locally, so people can reach out to you through the website for that. But is there a quilt or quilt project that's been most memorable for you?
The one that has, everything we do is stuff I think is cool. So they're all my babies. It was real early and legit. I did Land of the Free. It's an eagle flying through the sky. That's my dad quilt. My father was a full bird colonel in the United States Army. His house was filled with American flags and eagles. And so this quilt was my tribute to him. He passed before that design came out. He passed before Legit Kits happened. But I made that one for Dad. So that one's always got a special place. I take an extra pause with that one.
Oh, that's sweet.
But all of them are still like sail away. Like I used to sail boats in this Puget Sound. So that just harkens back to when I was on a sailboat. Skulliver, I've always thought skulls were cool. I've always appreciated older art. So I got Starry Night right back there behind me.
Yeah.
It's all stuff that I just think is great. So
yeah, that's really cool. So in your creative practice, what brings you joy?
Seeing it as a quilt. So, I don't make our quilts. I don't have enough time. I have sewn them. I'm not saying I don't, I just refuse to. That's not the case. But with everything else I've got going on in my life, I'll quilt in my retirement. Right now, once the kids are in college, maybe, I don't know. But we get example quilts made by people, and to see once the example quilt comes in, it's like Christmas here when we get a package from one of our sample makers, because we get to see it for the first time in person. And that is my favorite, because all that work has resulted in this quilt, because it takes months to get these patterns written.
Yeah. And seeing something that was in your mind come to fruition is so satisfying, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So right now we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk all about Mike's studio space, workspace, where he creates some more projects, quilts, of course, and what's coming soon. So we'll be right back. Scotland is calling. Picture this. You're standing on the ramparts of Edinburgh Castle, the Scottish Highlands stretching before you. In your hand, a tartan handbag with fabric and hardware you picked yourself. This isn't just a dream. It's our tour of Scotland to the Festival of Quilts, and it's happening July 21st, 2026. Imagine 13 days where every moment inspires you. You'll cruise legendary Loch Ness, ride the breathtaking West Highland Railway, and create your own tartan handbag in downtown Edinburgh. Watch border collies herd sheep on a working farm, explore natural dyeing at Artisan Studios in Glasgow, and here's the best part. You'll spend an entire day with Joe Avery at the magnificent Great Tapestry of Scotland, learning hand-stitch techniques you will love. Then cap it all off with 3 full VIP days at the Birmingham Festival of Quilts. This is Scotland at a meaningful pace, time to create, connect with fellow quilters, and soak in inspiration that will inspire you for years to come. Don't wait, spaces are limited. Call the team at Opulent Quilt Journeys today. 1-877-235-3767. That's 1-877-235-3767. Or email info@opulentquiltjourneys.com. Scotland is calling. Your quilting adventure awaits. And we are back with Mike Odell. Mike, can you tell us about your studio space? Where do you create?
I create everywhere. I hate to be that vague about it, but I mean, we've got our office here. We've got our 4,500 square feet. Sometimes I'm creating on our cut tables and cutting something out. Sometimes I'm drafting something on my computer. Most of my creative space, though, is my cell phone. I've got image editing software on it. I use that to communicate with the team. So I draw pictures on my phone and send it to the art team. I download pictures and send it to the art team. We have with some high-end license agreements with some popular photo sites, so that I can do that legally. One thing about appropriating the name legit to my company is it holds me to a high standard. I do want everything to be legit with legit kits. And it got named actually by the very first quilt, that Stormtrooper quilt. A woman made it, testing it for me, just testing the patterns, the PDF download. She made it for her boyfriend. He saw it laying on the bed and he said, "Babe, that quilt is legit." And that's how I named this company.
Oh, so great. What a nice little story. Before that, we were Quilting Space Studio. Yeah. My creative space is kind of everywhere. Like I'll be on a hike and see some flowers and go, well, that would be a cool pattern. It's a little bit everywhere. Sounds good. Okay. And then what's the best thing you do for your own self-care?
For my own self-care, the best thing I do is I clock out. I plug my phone in to my nightstand. I just disconnect. And I do my best to be appreciative of where I am and what's going on. If some part of me is hurting, I think about another part that isn't and go, well, at least my left arm's okay. I count my blessings. I try and appreciate where I am. I do a lot of looking back to appreciate everything. With a business, it's always one problem after the next. And it's kind of easy to get caught up in those problems, whatever they are. But when I go to a quilt show and I see 50 of our quilts hanging between the booth and the quiltinator and everything else, and I see all our patterns sitting there, and I just think about all that happened to get that there. Yeah. I take a whole lot out of that. So I just try and be appreciative in the little things every day because I'm just happy to be here. Happy to be alive, and I'm grateful for all the support I've had through all my endeavors, especially legit. But I'm just freaking grateful. That's all there is to it.
Well, gratefulness is great for your own self-care, right? Okay, so we have already touched on some of the fun collaborations you're doing with designers, and we've talked about a whole bunch of the quilts, the Darth Vader pixel quilt, the fighter on the back, the Stormtrooper. Tell us about the story about quilted pants. What's that all about?
That's actually from Shark Tank. Okay. So this isn't a big secret, so I think I can talk about this. But they said send us images of everything you're going to wear down to the watch. Like okay. All your jewelry, everything that you're going to wear on our set. And so I sent that, and they said, and you can wear anything you want as long as it's not red. And I paused with that. At that point, I already had my 2-person team, like on Hunger Games, that they're kind of getting you ready for the big show. Yeah. And I was like, all of my shirts with our logo on it is red. They also tell you to wear something you're comfortable in. I'm not a 3-piece suit guy. I wear scrubs for a living. I'm used to wearing pajamas. A shirt with a collar is a stretch for me. So they said on Shark Tank, if you wear a 3-piece suit and you're not used to that, you're going to be fidgeting with your clothes the whole time. And I do. Yeah. When I'm at a funeral, man, I'm tugging at everything and I'm not, so my legit kits uniform was going to be my red polo shirt because red's attention getting with the black logo on it and a pair of jeans and tennis shoes. And I couldn't wear anything red because red shows up funny on camera sometimes. Sometimes it gets all smeary on a display. So that's why they don't want you to wear red. So I was back at the drawing board and I didn't have much time. So I got a polo from JCPenney, and we have these patches that have our logo on. So I ironed a patch onto a polo shirt, and then I was like, let's do something fun. I wearing scrubs a lot. I know they're simply constructed, and I've made some pants. My in-laws said, "Oh, he built those pants." Looking at the like I built them out of wood. But I've made pants before, and so I just thought it would be neat. We had these panels of Skulliver. I was like, "How about I make Skulliver pants?" I mean, that's a way to showcase what we have and make a nice splash on Shark Tank. And so I went to a scrub shop, found a very simply built pair of scrub pants, no slash pockets, no fancy stuff. And they fit. Ripped all the seams, spray basted panels on, and quilted along all those lines on there. I used glow in the dark thread because I thought that'd be a nice effect, but it takes a lot of glow in the dark thread to make something really glow.
Yeah.
So with my second pair of quilted pants, I did it with metallic thread, which is a lot harder to sew with.
Yeah.
I had to play with my tension a lot for that, but I was like, you know what? I'll just do the pants. You don't usually see that. And since I didn't put any batting in there, they're not that hot. They're like about a pair of jeans thickness. So I wore those on the set of Shark Tank, and I thought, this is actually kind of a nice statement for our company because we take solid fabrics and we turn them into these quilts. And so I wear a solid top. I've got a bunch of different shirts now that are all just a solid color polo with a legit logo on them. And then I have a couple different quilted pants, and I think I need to make another pair. So I like making quilted pants. They feel nice. You can kind of like, and it's not as hot as a coat. I get hot easy. So,
oh my gosh, we got to put a picture of that in the newsletter as well. Do you have
my pants?
Yeah, a picture of you wearing your pants, your quilted pants on Shark Tank. That would be awesome. Okay, so now it's time. Well, we want to talk about big news coming soon before we get into the lightning round, Robin. So you were thinking you might want to give us a sneak peek into a new idea. So tell us a little bit about scissor tail kits. What's that going to be?
So scissor tail kits. So it has confused people. When they go on our website, they're looking for legit kits and they find the Pixel Santa or Helen's Mermaid and they buy it, and it's not exactly our pattern. And so, and in another vein, it's another designer and they're sending their customers to my website, and that's kind of a conflict in interest. So we're going to open up our own website called Scissor Tail Kits. These kits are going to be built by our cutters in our warehouse. They'll be printed by us, but they're not legit kits. They are quilt kits for other designers. And this way, these quilt kits can they can stand out on their own instead of in a crowded field of legit kits. And I see this as being a great way to help other designers get their quilts out to people who want to buy kits and not just a pattern. And it's a simple little twist instead of doing it on our website, but I think it's a good idea. And I think it's going to get a lot of traction pretty fast. It's going to be a nice place to go. You want to look for awesome foundation paper piece pattern? Go to Scissor Tail Kits, and there's going to be a whole bunch of high-end designers on there. Quilt kits ready to go.
Yeah. And what's interesting about that is you'll be featuring even way more designers into the world in a bigger way that they could do by themselves. And there'll be a different kind of variety, like Legit Kits has this sort of, it's got an aesthetic, right? It's got a visual. You kind of can see something and say, oh, I know that's a legit kit. But when it comes to this one, it might be completely different. There might be something sort of softer, traditional looking or something, whatever, it'll be all different designers, and it might not quite fit the aesthetic, but you still want to put it out to the world. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. And it's a great way for people who are quilt designers that aren't in the United States.
Yeah.
To be able to sell quilt kits in the United States without having to go through all of the processes of
trying to
shipping and tariffs that change constantly and just all the logistics. A lot of ideas are really easy, but man, the bugger is always in the details, getting something off the ground. And so we've done all that work already. And so we can do that, and we can share the profits with those people who are interested in sharing their designs with us. So it's a nice little venture.
If you're listening right now and you're thinking, oh, I want to hear when that happens, when that comes out, probably the best place to go is on Facebook, Legit Kits, and maybe get into that Facebook group as well, because the newest things happening are probably going to happen in there. Or, of course, just check out the website at legitkits.com. Okay, so now it's time for the lightning round, Robin. It's a series of rapid fire questions, and it's super fun. So are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. Short and sweet, quick and punchy. This is going to be fun. What is your favorite tool or notion?
My Juki sewing machine. It can
Okay.
sew through anything. I
It's a
love it.
big tool, but that's good. That's good. Good.
Mhm.
Okay. What triggers inspiration for you?
Just the world around me.
Yeah.
Like I said, I got ADD, ideas colliding together. Everything.
You're like, I got to grab my phone. I see something. Yeah, that's so good.
Yes.
Okay. What motivates you to get out of bed in the morning?
The fact that I work in the OR. I wake up at 5 o'clock in the freaking morning every day of the week, and I can't change it because I'm over 50 and my body is programmed. So I get up and get going. I like days when I've gotten enough sleep and I'm ready and I've got extra in me.
Yeah.
So I do my best to take care of sleep hygiene, because then I can do anything.
Yeah. Awesome. What's a skill you'd love to learn?
Welding.
Welding.
I've always wanted to weld stuff together. That's another thing I've got planned for retirement. Maybe I should do it sooner than that. But I like making things out of different materials. And that's what got me into quilting. Was like, it was a whole new material, another completely different thing to learn. But every time I pick up a new substance to work with, I can bring all that I had from the other stuff into it.
Yeah.
I've taken classes on glass blowing and pottery and sculpture and all that stuff. So like cake decorating, I've done all kinds of things. And so welding is up there. I haven't had a big enough shop to do it in. I need a welding shop. You're
mentioning something that's surprising me, because I've never had that answer on the podcast before, but I actually have that skill. As a firefighter, I learned how to do that. I learned how to weld in the early 90s. I haven't done it for decades. But the interesting thing is, are you thinking you'd like to learn to weld for art, to create art?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
big
what I was thinking.
Art.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
And practical stuff too.
Okay. And do you have any weird, crazy, or funny fan moments? Like people recognize you, like, oh my gosh, it's the legit kit guy.
I got recognized in an elevator wearing gym clothes.
That's better than a washroom.
Right? Like I was standing on the elevator and we were only going up one floor. And this woman was like, legit kits. That's you, isn't it? And I was like, yeah, it is. And she's like, that smile, I recognize it. I've been watching you on the internet.
Yeah. Oh, that's kind of cool.
And also at quilt shows, I see people kind of whisper to each other, and then they kind of look my way, and then eventually they come up to me. And I had a woman come up and have her friend was taking a picture, and she was being real particular about the background and everything. And she looked at me and said, "You're the first famous person I've had my picture taken with." And that's sweet. Didn't think of myself as a famous person. So it's been good. Like, I'm not famous enough to have weird people come after me. So that's nice.
That's good. Yeah. Oh, that is cool. Okay. And so since you mentioned they may have seen you on the internet, do we have like a YouTube channel or anything we should really mention? Like, what are you doing there?
There is a Legit Kids YouTube channel. I should do more on it. That's a goal for 2026. We also have an Instagram account and Facebook. I post probably to Instagram first, but it always goes to Facebook as well, because the other way around doesn't work as well. And then I'm on YouTube. Got a TikTok as well. Don't do a whole lot on it, but doing social media on top of everything else. Social media is vital for a business, but it's another thing to do, and it's easy to kind of put off. So I need to get better at that.
Okay, sorry. I led you astray. I
started talking again. About that.
I led you off topic, and I want to get back to the lightning round robin.
Back to lightning.
We've got a couple more questions. So we did the fan moments. Has there been a mentor who's really influenced you along your journey?
Stephen Van Kallenberg is a serial entrepreneur here in Oklahoma City. When I started talking to him about quilts, he helped me start this business. He put a lot of things in perspective for me, and that's been really neat. And also Luke, who told me to get on Shark Tank. I take a lot from a lot of people. I try and listen more than I talk, even though I talk a lot. The two legit people, there's a little chat in my Facebook group. It's all the people who were there in the very beginning, and they've been cheering for the company the whole time. They've all been very beneficial for me because they know the quilting world better than I did back when I started. And yeah.
Nice to have those people in your corner. So what is your proudest accomplishment?
This company. This is the biggest thing I've ever done. It's bigger than anesthesia school, and it's impacting. We've had almost 20,000 sales.
Wow.
And I'd like to think that a decent percentage of those sales resulted in somebody being happy about it. This has been my way to reach more people than I'm ever going to meet. And that's really freaking cool.
Well, thank you, Mike, for braving the lightning round robin. That was really fun. So I've mentioned your website a couple times at legitkits.com. We know where we can find you on social media. It's Legit Kits everywhere. So pick your favorite social media you love the most and go check out Legit Kits. But the real deal is that Facebook group, right? That's where everything really happens. All the fans are and stuff like that. So now as we wrap up, what do you want people to take away most from our conversation today?
Do the thing. Don't put it off. I mean, I could have put this off until I was retired from anesthesia, but you never know what's going to happen. Just get out there and do it. If it's that quilt you want to make, start selling. Don't do action faking. Like, you say you want to start a business and you go to Vistaprint and get some cards made, but you didn't actually do anything. Like, do those things. The other day, I'd been fighting with this website that I hate. But I told a group of people I was going to do it, my instructors, and I was like, I'm going to do this Thursday morning. And so I made myself accountable. But, it was Mark Twain. I believe it was Mark Twain.
Yeah.
Forgive me. But he said, if every morning you get up and eat a live frog,
the
rest of your day will be easy. And so the live frog is that task you don't want to do. There's been a whole lot of eating the frog to build this company. There's been a whole lot of eating a frog to just get through life, and eat some frogs.
Yeah, I love that Eat That Frog. And I have seen a book out there called Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. I think I actually have it in my list of books to listen to coming up soon. But it's once you get that first big thing off your plate, then you feel accomplished for the day, right? Everything else seems easier.
Yeah, you start the day with a win.
Yeah, what a great way. What a great thing to end the show with. It's good advice. It's a great thing for people to think about, just do the thing. I love it. It's really simple and good advice. Love it. Okay. So Mike, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the show. It was really nice to hear the story of your business. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you, Brandy. I've loved every minute of it. It's been great being on this podcast. Thank you.
So that was my show with Mike Odell. One thing that delighted me was what he talked about, not just paper and fabric, it's dopamine. Because a quilter might walk up and see this incredible quilt or design and immediately think, I could never do that. But Legit Kits makes it achievable. They lay the patterns out in a way that is actually accessible from beginner to quilter that's been quilting for 30 years. So another thing he's done that I love is the feature of guest artists like Dee of Pixel Quilts. It's a great way to expand the audience and reach into the industry and bring quilters and designers that we love. And one thing to watch for coming up, of course, is that great new idea of scissor tail kits. So get in that Facebook group to get the latest on all the inside information. It's called Legit Kits. There's almost 10,000 people in there, so you can join the conversation. And it's a closed group, but it's really great to get into. And you just have to answer a couple questions and you'll get right in. And today, I loved sharing the story of Mike Odell and Legit Kits with you. Quilter on Fire is now on YouTube, and it's packed with brand new weekly content. What's waiting for you? Fun and easy tutorials to follow, exciting unboxings, exclusive interviews with top quilters and artists at the biggest quilt shows like Houston and QuiltCon. If you love Quilter on Fire on the podcast, you're going to be blown away by our YouTube channel. Don't miss out. Subscribe to Quilter on Fire on YouTube today. Let's ignite your passion for quilting. Thank you for listening to the Quilter on Fire podcast. Remember to rate, review, and follow us on Apple Podcasts. Your support helps me reach more quilters just like you, striving for that perfect quilty lifestyle. Click on those 5 stars and share what you loved most about today's episode. Don't forget to hit the follow button if you haven't already. With new episodes dropping weekly, you won't want to miss out on the inspiring stories and tips we have in store. Until next time, dream big and have fun in the studio with the Quilter on Fire.